to this computer. Okay. So we are moving along hard charge through this. Jesus Christ is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I don't know if you could hear that song but that was been bouncing around in my head. That's my King. It's all for him. It's all for his glory. Wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here. But it's a great place to be. Uh, uh, well, thought for the day, leaders lead everyone and each one. Everybody that comes in is unique. We do some things that apply to everybody across the board, but every person needs to feel safe, valued, and accepted no matter where they come from, no matter what their background, no matter what they bring to the table for us. Each person has equal value, different functions, different roles, different status, but equal value for every person. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And just to kind of go back again and lay a foundation, hit on a foundation again. Three core purposes that I've got for what we're doing here. The first is to help build foundations for Ignite's future. I think that's the divine timing for us. Is we were all set and primed and ready to do some foundational program, and it turns out that it's exactly the perfect time for us to do that. So God knows exactly what he's doing. And so I'm tickled to get on board with that. Helping to build foundations for Ignite's future. Second one, help build foundations for every person's destiny. To set in place some core principles that help us to build help us to have something to build on towards our destiny. And along with that, lift our perspective, lift every person's perspective to enable us to reach God's divine destiny. And that's my whole mindset. That's my heart anyway, is to help people to reach their destiny, to elevate perspectives, build foundations, so everybody can move forward. But little thinking question for the day: how do you carry out a landscaping project? Major landscaping project for a house or for some kind of a business. And so how do you carry out that kind of a project? And so step one is you get a landscape architect who envisions and designs the project. And then a project manager plans and coordinates producing the project, carrying it out, does all the planning and coordination for that. But he takes the architect's rendering, the vision that the architect has laid out on paper, and sets everything up to achieve that, to fulfill that. Then a supervisor steps in, organizes all the materials and the personnel. He also takes that architect's rendering and adds to it the manager structure and works out how to make it happen. Then you have down in the weeds, you have the weeders and the flower planters to actually make it real. Okay. Now it takes everybody, it takes all of those people, it takes more as well. We need to have people providing all those kinds of things, all the materials and the equipment, the tools and so on. But that's the core structure. So it takes all of those people and more. And so when the weeders and the planters need to do something, they call the supervisor and say, "Hey boss, I need something. I forgot the shovels. We need more plants." And then the boss makes it happen. Now, what happens if the boss calls the architect? Okay, he doesn't do that. The supervisor has the authority to provide what they need. He has the authority to get shovels, to buy plants, to do whatever is needed to put that in place. Okay. And so if the supervisor then runs up to the manager and says, "Hey, we got to have something here," then all of a sudden things kind of get balled up. Nothing gets done. Okay. Whoops. Um, Now, if the architect has been thorough and complete in putting down that vision for everybody to follow and detailing all the different aspects of that, the different dimensions of it, and then the manager has been thorough and complete in sort of laying out the project, and the supervisor has been complete and thorough, then bringing the whole thing into reality is pretty simple. Okay. And so any gaps in there, if the architect or the manager or the superintendent haven't been thorough and have left any gaps in it, then things get a little more difficult, more complicated. But worse is if somebody tries to do somebody else's job. If the weeders and the flower planters start trying to do the supervisor's job, then things get brought to a standstill. Things will die. Okay, it can actually kill the project altogether if the people below start trying to do the jobs of the people above, or try to get the people above to do their jobs. Okay, and of course that thing's an analogy. We have a master architect. Jesus is our master architect, right?
Yes.
And he's given us the project managers, the foundation of the apostles and prophets. And he's given us the supervisors, he's given us pastors and teachers. And so we have that structure in place. And so as long as everybody is in their place doing their job, then it works out fairly well. If the apostles and the prophets try to do the job of the rank and file of the church, then things kind of get brought to a standstill. Worse yet, if the members of the church try to become the apostles and prophets, but they're not gifted or anointed to do that, if that's not their role and position, then all of a sudden things can really blow up. So we just need to make sure, the part of the point of what we're talking about is doing your job thoroughly, staying in your lane, being thorough and complete, responsive, and that's how organizations work. That's the design we use, and that's the design God created for us. We got a great plan. Back again to culture, organization culture, and I mentioned this a couple of times. I think that the culture kind of ties in with organization controls, but in every organization you have to have controls. People don't like that word control. It's kind of a dirty word. It sounds overbearing. It's messy. It can sound bossy and manipulative, but it's absolutely necessary. Just like a train on the tracks, you got to have the tracks to control the train. You've seen pictures, I'm sure, of a train where the tracks broke, and all of a sudden you got a big pile of mess, and you got things busted. You got people falling, laying all over the place, cars scattered all over the place like pickup sticks. You guys ever heard of pickup sticks?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I know that's from my childhood. I didn't know how far, if I was way past my prime on that one or not. I feel better now, thanks. But we have to have controls. Controls. When you get people working together, you have to have things to keep things aligned. You have to keep things in order. And that's all we're talking about. How do you keep everybody pointed the same direction? How do you keep everything in order and moving along together? How do you keep everything from flying apart into a million different directions? And that's all control is, okay? Now, different people come up with different ways of describing organization control methods. And this is one I like. It's simple for me to understand, but three basic different kinds of controls: bureaucratic, market, and clan controls. Bureaucratic controls, you have a lot of policies, procedures, regulations. You've got a formal hand. If you know exactly what needs to be done, how to do it, and you can measure progress on those things, then bureaucratic controls work real well. And that's how you get something work very efficiently. So if you've got some kind of an operation that's very well structured, then you can use bureaucratic controls. This is how you do this. Follow the instructions. Okay. Um, so something like putting a tent up, constructing a tent. Food ministries can often be that way. I don't know how yours is structured or not. But they can be. Everybody's got their job. These are the tasks that you do. This is how you do these tasks and so forth. If you don't follow the policies, if you don't follow the procedures, then we know exactly where the mess up is. Okay, there's a straightforward and proper way. Another side of this bureaucratic thing, though, it's great for efficiency. Things can really move along clean and really click together with this kind of a system. But also, as organizations get bigger and there's more pieces to it, the more people that are involved, the more kinds of activities you're involved, the more you have to have some policies and some regulations in place to help hold things together. There's a real tendency to do that. Now, the downside of that is sometimes people get carried away with that, and all of a sudden you got a rule for everything. And my philosophy was always don't have any rules you don't absolutely have to have, but if you do, enforce them. Make sure you stick to them, so everybody knows what the expectations are. So the more people you have, the more differences there are amongst them, and the more you need to have some means to keep it all on track. A strong culture can really help do that as the organization grows, but you've got to pay more attention to building and maintaining the culture in the process. And so you can sort of trade off the policies and the regulations if the culture is good. Okay. So but again, as the bigger the organization grows, the more you have to pay attention to that. And also be aware, like we talked last week, different groups, different subunits within a large organization will have slightly different cultures in them. Okay, because the cultures will be focused on the particular jobs that particular unit does. And we have market controls. And those are the kind of things based on meeting marketplace demands. What are we doing to attend to what the people on the outside are looking for? If we don't have a clear way to define and structure our internal jobs, then we might start looking at some market controls. Sales is like that. Okay, you got some very structured way to do sales, but still, sales is a relationship-based thing. Okay. And so you kind of back off from the highly structured approach to allow people to grow and develop relationships. And so if it's a sales focused organization, then you may drift into market controls. Market controls are very adaptive because you're always responding to what people on the outside are after. Okay, as styles shift, in the clothing industry, that's very much market control. As styles shift in the clothing industry, then you can adapt what you do as an organization to meet those changes in styles. Okay, longer dresses, shorter dresses, looser, tighter, more colorful, whatever, and you can adapt very quickly that way. If you people start preferring linens over synthetics, then you start creating your whole organization structure to be able to meet those demands. Okay. In ministry organizations, ministries that focus on exclusively on external things, and it really can be a problem. I'm not saying that you don't use it because there are times when you would. But if you start focusing too much on meeting what the marketplace is after, then you become kind of unstable. Okay. And you start selling them, smoke and dark meeting rooms and loud noises and things like that, and flashing lights instead of a solid gospel. So market controls can be very responsive and adaptive, but you got to be careful that you don't start compromising in order to do what you need to do. But clan controls, when you don't really have a way to measure what the marketplace is after does, and when you don't really have a clear way to structure what you do, then oftentimes you might fall into clan controls. Um, a lot of virtual organizations are getting more towards clan controls because you don't have people working together under the same, especially if it's people representing different companies or different ministries or different whatever. You can't put those same rules and policies in place. And so you start working on norms and values and shared goals and trust, which is the kind of thing we're talking about with culture. Okay, culture really is an important part of a clan control where people are doing it because of internal intrinsic motivators. I, I'm really I'm really buying into this. I'm committed to this, and I love doing this work. And that's what clan controls do. They really get people engaged at an emotional and an internal level instead of just at a outside follow the rules kind of a level. Um, Clan controls use selection, and because if you think in terms of a ministry, you really want to bring a lot of people into a ministry who have a different vision, who have a different calling, who have some very uh, clear doctrinal differences on key points that are kind of cause some challenges or some frictions. If they've got a different calling, let them find a place where their calling fits. And if they've got a different vision, you want to find people who fit with your vision and your calling, your purposes, and so forth. Which is the one reason why we want to have our vision established. That's one of the first things you want to think about. And rituals. This is the way we do things. These are the norms. These are the standards. This is sort of the patterns that we follow. Not all ministries, but most ministries use clan controls, especially churches as a whole. Different units within the church may follow different kinds of ways to kind of keep things moving ahead, but as a whole, churches, because you don't really have any way to compel people to follow the rules. Okay, making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Still with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's just a bit on how culture kind of fits in with different ways to keep the organization held together and moving forward. No matter which one you use, a strong culture is a huge asset to making it work. No matter what you do, a strong culture is very, very helpful in making those things work. As a matter of fact, the stronger the culture, the more you can get away from having to rely on policies and procedures and rules. They just basically spell out the step-by-step things. But you don't have to have all the the three-step processes for disciplinary procedures and so forth, because people will stay in line much more readily. On the flip side, a culture that's too rigid, too strong can also be a problem. So you have to be careful that it doesn't become. And actually, a culture, if you look at it, what's the root of culture? The root of the word. It's a cult, right? And so we're not creating cults, but if we get too rigid or too strong, then it can turn cultic. And when it starts getting too rigid, too strong, too formalized, and things, then you resist change. If Dr. Wayne used to like to tell a story of traveling with his tent somewhere, and they said the Lord told him to go to Florida instead. So okay, we're not going there. We're going to Florida. Let's turn south. Well, a strong culture wouldn't let you do that. No, we've got this stuff going. We've made these agreements as alignment. This is what we do. We're going to keep moving forward. And so a strong culture can resist change. It can be exclusive to where if you don't know who we are and how to do things, if you're not part of us, then you're just not as cool as we are. It can become a barrier to people coming in to where they don't really understand how things are done. They don't know, they don't know the ropes, and they don't know who does what and so forth. So they're kind of feeling on the outside, and you keep those barriers in place because it makes you feel special because you're on the inside. You're one of the inside people, and it always feels kind of cool to be on the inside rather than on the outside looking in. Um, People can become very judgmental against others, and it can become a barrier to collaboration. If you're collaborating across groups with other organizations, and your culture is so strong that you can't really have a dialogue with them, then all of a sudden you're kind of sunk. We had some people from another church visiting a church that we were part of some years ago, and they came in. They came from a very strong culture. We had a very powerful personality as their leader, and so they all had kind of got in line with his personality and his ministry and his calling. But when they came to us, it was we just really had a feeling like we were kind of on the outside. They were trying to tell us how to be a church and try to tell us how to do things and how to walk with God and what was right and what was wrong. And there really was no way that we could have any cooperative events or work with them because they had this kind of exclusive thing. This is there was a real strong barrier between us and them in terms of being able to communicate and work together because we didn't speak their language word for word. And so that can be a problem too. So now we've been focusing a lot on the inside the organization and some of those principles and dynamics that really help us be able to carry out our callings and our missions and our visions. So the next step then is what do we do that addresses both inside and outside? How do we pull things together with how we do the things we do internally as well as carrying out our mission on the outside? And more importantly than that, the more important question is why do we do what we do? What are the drivers? Remember, we start with why. We talked about that last week. And so one way we can address that question is with our corporate core or core values. Well, we all have core values, I hope. People who don't have some core values are really unstable and insecure. Well, corporations can really benefit from having some solid core values as well. Core values, the guiding principles that shape an organization's identity, culture, and decision making. Okay. They express what the organization stands for at its deepest level. At its very, very deepest level. This is what we stand for. And if you're very familiar at all with Charlie Kirk, and who was assassinated a couple of weeks ago, had some very, very strong core values, and his organization Turning Point built off of those core values, and it was very clear, very strong, and everybody knew exactly what he stood for. People argued about it and said he stands for this when he didn't because they were they just like with the gospel, it offended them. So express what they stand for at the deepest level, not just what it does, but how the organization does it and why it does it. Okay. Core values nestle in with our vision and help develop our corporate culture. As we begin to kind of work from our vision really is built on our core values because the vision is a way of expressing and executing, carrying out our core values, what's very important and critical for us. So they kind of nestle in all together. They anchor the culture. Okay. Core values will set the tone for what's good and bad, right and wrong, which is the kind of thing we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. The attitudes, but they also kind of fold in attitudes and norms. They guide decisions. Any decisions we're making will align with our core values. They're kind of a compass, sort of a moral compass for leaders when choosing priorities. This is how we deal with this. This is what's important for us. Let's stick with who we are and what we do. Okay. They build trust because they let everybody know who we are and what we can be counted on to do, who we are and what we're all about. The people we work with, the people we deal with, the people who are part of us, the people we cooperate and collaborate with, the community around us, all have a sense of knowing who you are by knowing what your core values are. When Rodney Howard-Browne had his crusade in Chicago a few weeks back, the mayor wrote him a very nice commendation. And the commendation essentially was built on we see what your core values are, and we'd love to have you be part of our community. Unfortunately, in the meantime, he's sort of done his political version of core values in public. So, but they build trust. They let everybody know who you are and what you're all about. And then they shape identity. They distinguish one organization from another. I read a core values of an airline a while back, and their core values clearly distinguish them from other airlines. And it was really kind of fun to see. And I ought to put those core values in a slide because they're really interesting how they frame that. But they can distinguish our unique mission and vision are kind of balled up in our core values. So we have some values like integrity, accountability, service, innovation, stewardship, respect, or excellence. The kind of things actually we were talking about for the last couple of weeks as far as internally. Of course, when we're going to translate those externally, then the scope grows a bit, right?
Yes.
So corporate core values are the non-negotiables. Okay. Jesus is real. Jesus died for me. I would recommend, by the way, and I'll try to. I ran out of time. I was going to try to put a slide in this week with a short video clip. But in Charlie Kirk's memorial service, the Secretary of State of the United States, Marco Rubio, very short talk, 5 minutes or 7 minutes or something like that. At the end, he presented one of the clearest statements of the gospel that I've ever heard. In just about 2 or 3 minutes, an amazingly clear, concise statement of the gospel, just black and white as it can be. And I thought, wow, this is the Secretary of State of the United States, one of the most powerful people in the nation, who is standing up in front of the world saying, this is the gospel. Here it is for you. Laid it flat out on the table. And so in doing so, he laid out very clearly who he was and what he believed. Okay, very clear statement of his core values. Okay, define who he is and what drives him, and to a large extent. Okay, regardless of the circumstances. You know, come what may, this is who we are. Okay. The culture describes the internal environment. What we've been talking about the last few weeks have talked about the internal environment. Okay. But the core values include the external environments as well. So it includes not only just us and how we work together, but it's also the deeper level that kind of spreads out and lets other people know who we are and what we represent. And so they're going to be broader. They're going to include things in the corporate core values that you wouldn't include in your culture. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay.
Yes.
Excuse me, we good?
Good.
Yes, good. Very good.
Core values deal with the overarching why. Why are we here? Which by nature is an external thing. You know, why we're not just here so we can sit around and sing Kumbaya together.
Amen.
You know, and talk about how much we love each other and have a mutual admiration society. We're here for a higher purpose. And every organization that's going to ever survive is going to be here for a purpose bigger than themselves. And so the core values address the purpose bigger than ourselves.
Yes.
Good.
So here's what we're going to do today. Everybody together, and this is going to be a bit of a stretch because Nancy's not with you, and well, he's still driving, isn't he? Okay. But I think we can make it work. But everyone together use the cultural values that we came up with. I took those lists that you sent me and compiled them into one list and picked the top 12. And I'll put that slide up here in just a second. So that's a starting point. But yeah, so you can use those as sort of teasers, sort of fodder, but you're not limited to that. But I would like for us to develop one list, everybody working together, one list of 8 core values for Ignite. Okay. And again, you're not limited to those 12, add others. Clearly, evangelism. Ben put this well Sunday when he says we're all about souls. So you're not limited to those. Evangelism would be a very very fitting one to add to the list. But 8 core values that that define Ignite, and I've talked with Angela about this, so I'm not taking her job from her or the leadership's job, but this is really a valuable part of coalescing, pulling us all together for moving forward. Okay, this is something that really can be an advantage for us individually and corporately as a ministry. Okay, so here's the 12 that were the top 12 from the list that I got. And so those are some starters. Clearly you're going to eliminate some and add some. But we've got about 25 minutes left. Let's take about 20 minutes of that and just have at it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Real good.
So you might want to even pull your chairs around in a little circle. I'd ask you to keep in a semicircle or halfway open or something, so Nancy can be part too. She can engage.
Because that's on screen. Yeah.
That didn't work.
Hi, Nancy. I see you.
Right.
Okay.
Have to speak on that.
You guys.
But we've got space. Yeah. Gotcha.
And everybody's got that same blue screen, Nancy, so you don't need your camera if you don't want to.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
Nobody can see you anyway, just me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
See her at the top.
Oh, at the top? Okay. Well, now you can't see her at the top anymore.
I turned it off. Anyway.
Whatever works.
kidding.
Anyway, I'm horning in on your time. You guys just have fun together.
Loving patience. Love.
Yes.
That's what matters.
Yes, definitely.
Because love is patient and it's sweet. Which means we can take patient off then, because love covers patience, and kindness,
Love them.
unity.
Unity, yeah.
Unity?
Yep, definitely. I think accountability is useful.
So we can add and subtract, is that right? Even things that are
Absolutely.
not on the list?
Well, absolutely, because we're talking about external things. And so you're not evangelizing one another, right?
No.
But part of the core purpose of Ignite is evangelism.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
That's the heart and soul of Ignite. So I'm not trying to put my 2 cents in here, but I guess my 2 cents is I would definitely put evangelism on there. But
So what do you guys have so far? It's hard for me.
Loyal?
Right, evangelism, love, and unity.
Great.
Because we sort of said that love is patient and kind, so that sort of
Right.
piece covers. I think we're already going to be patient and kind.
let me just add one more little thought here right quick that might help a little bit. We've talked about how you want to work together as far as the culture. Now we're talking about how do you want the world to see you? Okay, what's your footprint in the
Faithful?
world around you? Okay.
I think redemptive is probably one, because that covers a lot of the other stuff we do. It covers all the discipleship, it's all redemptive.
Yeah, I was thinking redemption or restoration.
Yeah.
Prophetic? Can you hear me? I know it's not in there. Does it have to be in there and kind of associated with the words that are up there?
Do we want to add prophetic? Because we're bringing 8 things. What have we got so far? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Or
Yeah.
There's loyalty.
Yeah. It's from the original list of all the pages we had. So
Oh, from
yeah, this has been what everybody brought in as the homework and then the top 12 from that
yeah,
homework.
because I had Amazon, but I'm not in there.
No, that's the main top 12.
No, because I didn't. Because I was with Angel. Hey, can I take some out? Because I know that some of them aren't exactly attitude.
Yeah, we can take attitude out of it. So,
And so I'll take out attitude and put faithfulness, covers loyalty, same time too. Not in the word. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Yes.
Faithfulness?
5 faithfulness.
Yeah, so we've only got 3 more to go then, because we're bringing it down to a group of 8.
I think servanthood for myself is
Servanthood,
important
yeah,
because
that covers a lot.
it's an internal thing that happens here, and it gets expressed in the community as well as we go out, as we serve the community.
Joy.
What
Is
was
that
that?
servanthood?
Yeah, joy.
Is that what you said? I wasn't sure what you said, the last one.
Joy.
Joy.
Joy?
You got her one on faithfulness, yeah?
I've got restoration, faithfulness, joy.
Say
No, we're on the last one there. So I think what's
joy. Say.
accountability?
I think it.
Integrity covers a lot.
Oh,
It's pretty covered.
yes.
Yeah, it covers most of those.
Integrity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it covers accountability, trust, attitude. Yeah.
That's very good.
That's 8. I think that's 8. That's 8. Do you want me to go back over them? Yeah. And just can say yes or no. Evangelism. Yeah. Love. Unity. Redemptive. Faithfulness. Servanthood. Joy. Integrity.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, hang on one sec. Let's see if I got them all.
Do you want to read this out your list, Nancy?
Yeah, I've got love, unity. Oh, yeah, I had servanthood, evangelism. I had unity twice. Redemptive, faithfulness, joy, integrity.
Yeah, that's the 8. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Great.
Awesome.
Done.
So those are the things that more than anything else you want to convey to the world around you. Those are the things that are the heartbeat and the pulse of everything you do.
That's more than anything else. Are these the things that are the heartbeat of who we are? Who we are.
We can go over it and have a look to really evaluate it. But that's as far as we've gotten this morning. But the heartbeat, ish.
Evangelism as a church, as a ministry, as a tent ministry, like that whole
That's what I'm.
whole of all of who we are as a core. Is this who
That, like I said,
what we want people to that we express ourselves to
yeah, and that one, yes, core. I probably says
that we can pick 8 of them.
yeah. And so then that's what I'm saying. So It's just us here, so that others too that would have like on supporting them as well, not a core value. Everybody's gonna get about it.
That's just
But
an
yeah, no,
attitude.
so this is just an overview of what we kind of think.
So we got evangelism, love, unity, redemptive, faithfulness, servanthood, joy, and integrity.
So that's as far as we have gotten. As far as core about it, there are others too, like Rob Tracy and that would.
Would you want to put something like glorify God in there, or lift up Jesus?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that could be instead of faithfulness, so.
Or would you want to put something like worship in there, which kind of like you could you may
Yeah.
think those are kind of interchangeable. That's okay.
Because integrity would cover faithfulness, wouldn't it?
I thought that when I looked at it.
So therefore, in that place, we could do glorify God, which would then cover worship as well.
Instead of faithfulness,
Yeah. Integrity covers.
we glorify God.
It covers
Integrity.
honesty,
Yeah.
consistency,
Yeah.
compromising, adherence, strong morals, ethical principles and values.
Yeah. I would have thought it was quite a strong word to cover a lot of stuff.
Considering, we go over really the definition,
Love,
defining.
And that integrity of it comes from God's word,
So,
knowing the integrity of God's word.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. It's
How about
Who we are.
something like establish God's kingdom on earth?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
hallelujah. Come on.
establishing God's kingdom with redemptive.
That'd be redemptive, really.
But what would your meaning of that be? Establishing, so what would like that? What would that mean to you? God's kingdom?
Redemption.
What does that mean?
Restoration.
To get structure.
Do we want to put establishing God's kingdom instead of redemptive because it covers redemption and restoration,
Mhm.
establishing the word of God, like establishing God's. That's what it says.
What do you?
What do you think?
Is that like essentially the Great Commission?
Well, that would be covered by his kingdom being on the earth.
Mm.
By kingdom come. So what would you mean by thy kingdom come?
Establishing God's kingdom.
Do you want me to put that in instead of redemptive, guys?
I'm happy with that.
Happy with that?
Establishing God's kingdom, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
because it encapsulates more than that. I think the richer the words, the better.
I'm taking redemptive out,
Yeah.
putting establishing God's kingdom.
Spiritual.
Would it also with evangelism, would it just be even more broader to just say the Great Commission? Because there's the whole fivefold ministry that works through the Great Commission. To go make disciples, baptize, teach them.
Yeah, you mean rather than highlighting just one of them?
Yeah,
So
Is that everybody's thing is the thy kingdom come, that we do.
Yeah. If we do the Great Commission covers evangelism plus teaching plus
disciple.
baptism plus
so how would you
discipleship.
word it? In a-
I mean, just evangelism and then just regard it as a
Fulfilling the Great Commission.
Fulfilling Greek. fulfilling the Great Commission?
Good.
What do you think? What do you think, Nancy?
I like it.
Let's take evangelism out and put fulfilling the Great Commission.
Yes.
Which is discipleship, evangelism.
Baptism, healing, deliverance.
Serving God and serving people.
That's what I'm saying.
How about binding the brokenhearted, bringing healing to the nations?
That under establishing God's kingdom.
I'm asking the questions. That's my job. I like my job better.
Here all day doing this. It's good.
Y'all should have seen me doing my list. I got no help.
And one thing to think about too, just to make it less simple, is the more broad or inclusive the word is, the less it means.
Yeah, that's what I was
Right.
thinking. Yeah.
For example, if you just put in serving people, that means, do I help people get out of jail when they've been locked up for legitimate reasons?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if forgiveness is a key virtue for me, does that mean that I don't ever bring people to accountability? Now,
Yeah.
that's not what you guys said. I'm just using those for examples. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Good.
And so and clearly we're just talking about putting some terms together right now. But as you begin to form these together into a statement of your values, then you'll want to put some clarity in there. So
That's good.
so the words actually have some meaning.
Yeah, that's good.
Because even unity can be misconstrued. Like
Absolutely.
we just have unity. That can, we know what we mean by unity, but if you have someone external, then they're like, oh, well, then is that unity of all faiths? Yeah, is that unity of,
And love.
yeah. I know.
Ran into that culture list too,
Yeah.
because it's like, who's thinking what? It paints a certain picture, but like Cheryl said, you know what you're thinking. But
Yeah.
You said that's a great example. When you're kind of laying out your core values, you're going to want to define unity a little more clearly so people know what is and what is not. Okay. Because there are churches whose whole purpose is to unify everybody, which means that they don't have any beliefs.
and accept everything.
It's a classic case of whatever you compromise to keep, you lose.
Mm.
So if you compromise your some aspect of your values for unity, then you lose both.
Yeah.
Can this also be like homework as well? Because I feel it's a bit broad. We should.
I didn't hear that. Mhm.
Well, we're not going to dwell on this forever. However, I think this is really an important step,
Yep, that is.
because in the past, what we've done has been very general, and we've used Ignite in our own selves for examples, but we've not tried to create any statements for Ignite. Okay. And I've been very clear
Yeah.
that that's not what I'm doing. That's not what we're here for. we're taking a bit of a shift here. I'm not trying to create what Ignite core values exactly are or should be, but close.
Yeah.
Okay. Close. And so this, what I want actually to do is to present to Angela a list that she can take under consideration.
Mm,
A statement
good.
of core values that she can say this is what people are thinking, and based upon her guidance and her vision and so forth, then she's got some things to work with. What she does with that is her business, not mine. You know, it's just like with the landscape architect. I'm not going to do the architect's job. So, but I do think this is a very valuable step for us to be able to think. Again, we are in a place right now where I mentioned to Angela and some others a while back, it really is fun sometimes just to get in the boat and ride down the river, you know? And I feel in a sense like I'm in a boat riding down the river. Now, sometimes the river is very smooth and you're just kind of floating along. Of course, then you got to fight the bugs and mosquitoes, right? And sometimes it's whitewater rapids and you're fighting for your life to keep your head above water and keep the raft floating.
Keep in the right or not.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
But nevertheless, you're not the one having to determine what the river is, where it's going.
Amen.
You're just doing your job, keeping the raft moving, pointing the right direction. Okay. And that's how I feel. We've been put in a position to where we're kind of on a raft floating down the river. And you know, the river is the Holy Spirit's timing and placement for us. And so that's the fun part, you know. And so that's really where I think we are is floating down the river. And but I don't want to miss the opportunity. I don't want to just sort of set it aside and say, well, we'll just talk about we'll have a Bible study and talk about biblical truths, but not anything that applies to us. So I'm a little more straightforward on this one in terms of these are some things that I think we can build from. Okay. Am I making sense there, or getting confusing?
Yes, very much.
Okay. Um, and we've up against the hour. It kind of in answer to that question, homework. I really would love if people would continue to pray about these,
Yeah.
think about
Thank
these.
you.
We're on the river whether we want to be or not.
Amen.
These are a critical part of the boat that we're in. You know, this is what holds the boat together. And you know, these are the straps that's keeping the boards in the boat from flying off. Okay, and so I we really would love for us to be invested in this.
Yeah.
It's a little
Most
sidebar here,
definitely.
and I'll send. I think I send a note about my new book coming out. Is out now.
Yeah, you posted.
See.
Okay.
Good.
On righteousness and holiness. And honestly, the first one I put out was on the kingdoms of this world, and there was some discussion about what that's all about. You know, people were talking about the kingdoms just a minute ago, and actually some of those questions are addressed in that one, and it'll be free on Saturday. I've only got one free day left with it, so if you download that one along with the other one on Saturday, then it's free. By the way, it's Saturday Pacific time. U.S. Pacific time, so that'll end Friday, Friday for you guys. So starting sometime Friday, then those will both be available for Kindle. They're just on Kindle, but they'll be available for no charge on Kindle. And I always hate trying to toot my own horn, but clearly that that one on on the kingdom of this world really fits with where we are. And actually in our meeting last night and in Ben's discussions on Sunday, he referred to some things that connect to that. So with that, we will call it a day because we got another class coming up in a minute. I'm trying to do better and better about giving you time for transition. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Yes, please do work on these and pray into these things more and so on. And we'll do a real quick wrap of this, maybe 5 minutes on Tuesday, next week, next Thursday, because we need to shift gears. But yeah, we'll
Awesome.
do that. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Blessings to you guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Have a good one.
Bye.